How's it going, Jordan?
What's up, my guy? How you doing today?
Good. Yourself?
Chilling, fam. What's up, my guy?
Kenroy.
What's up, boys? Yo! Oh!
What's up, man?
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, you guys comfortable?
Your back is gonna be hurting a little bit later.
I know. I trust me. I watched you doing the lean back.
I was trying to find the comfort zone, the zen moment.
I feel you.
I think with houses, like, they look comfortable, but for me, they're never comfortable.
Nah, it's like
Nice,
the
squishy,
sleep,
yeah.
the sleep. And
Facts, man.
Give me a chair.
then.
Yeah, the plan is nice.
So, the other day, Jordan, we're not here. We were just speaking about the Me Too movement and we're supposed to be right or we're supposed to be wrong. But I feel that there is a thing, like there may be a connection on masculinity. Like, what are the unwritten rules of masculinity? It's just a question that I've been having for a few days. It's just that where do we go to know about this rule? Where do we learn these rules? Because when I look back on my childhood, I never remember where do you learn this stuff from. I mean, I remember sometimes who do I go to who do I go to ask questions. It could be either my mom or my stepdad or my aunt or maybe my older brother or sisters, but I never saw any written rules about it. So which are the unwritten rules of masculinity?
I think I guess to answer both of your questions, sort of. I think, well, at least for myself, examples of masculinity, growing up, they were all from cultural places. I didn't have an individual thing I referenced. So movies, music, television, all that kind of stuff. Every time I think of what a definition of an alpha male or a man is, I think of an athlete, or I think of a movie star or something, 300 or stuff like that, just big, tough, strong, emotionless, guys kind of thing. So that's where I guess my background image from it comes. But I guess in terms of unwritten rules, I don't know if they're really unwritten, because I feel they're just societal norms at this point. I feel over the years, especially more recently, they've been blurred, and we're more open talking about our emotions and bringing other issues into the field. But I think overall, it's just how our society is based, not being overly sensitive, not being overly emotional, having a certain amount of purpose to yourself, being driven, being goal oriented, all these things are, whether it's from other men or from women or just from what we see in our society as a whole. I feel it's impossible, not impossible, that's a really bad term to use, but I think it's really hard to try and fight out of that frame. I think a lot of people do it well, and when they find their niche or their confidence level and they're oh yeah, I'm gonna do me kind of thing, that works out. But I think for the vast majority of people, it's hard to just be I'm gonna do me kind of thing because I'm trying to get this girl. I'm gonna do me kind of thing because I'm not trying to cry about something that really hurt me or something like that, you know what I mean? So I think it's I don't even know if it's unwritten. I think it's very known. I think the unwritten part is what you do to find yourself in that kind of framework. So
Right.
yeah.
I mean, it's funny because recently, I'm a huge basketball fan, so I'm watching basketball pretty much every day. And so last year, I don't know if you watched. Last year, this guy, DeMar DeRozan, and he sent out a tweet talking about he was. I think he mentioned it straight up. He said, I'm depressed or something like that.
Kevin Love did the same
Kevin
thing.
Love then
Kevin
followed
Love.
up and said something about having a panic attack in the game, in the middle of a game. And to me, to the whole league and everyone else, that was the first time anyone had ever mentioned anything about that or come clean about that. Not clean, but come out with that. And they made it this real big deal because it is true. It happens so often. and people, it just goes not unnoticed, but it just goes unspoken, and that's in the NBA. Imagine in real life, the people that go on with their lives, and we never notice, that they may be struggling with with some mental health issue, or even whatever, because mental health is just one area of masculinity. We can talk about many things about how we're supposed to be acting or talking or speaking. So that hit me, because I know people who struggled with mental health, and they, it's perfectly possible for them to live the rest of their lives this way, and no one knows it, and they avoid situations and they avoid social events because they're afraid that they may get looked down upon or things like that. But on a personal level, I'd never known what an anxiety attack was or a panic attack was up until like maybe a year ago, when someone close to me had one, and I was, it was like I had never ever. I had heard the word anxiety or panic attack, but I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it was, and it's scary. The scary part is that once you know something, once you're exposed to something, it becomes an option in your head. And now you're thinking about, like, whenever you're stressed or whenever you're going through a tough time. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but now that's an option. Now, am I short of breath? Is there something wrong with me? Like, am I having a panic attack? So, and then the fear is also like, this is not right. I'm not allowed to have this. Like, I'm supposed to be the tough one. I'm supposed to be the strong one. So, man, it really is scary to even think about that. That's why I would try to avoid it. In the past, you have this positive. There's truth to positive thinking. I don't know about you guys. I want you guys to share too, but there is some. I think there is some truth to positive thinking. But sometimes you have to. I think the healthiest thing is to acknowledge what is there, because it's there, and then deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Instead of hiding it and then going into the deep. But
but that's in perception after a year ago. So what was before that? Where do you learn this?
Oh, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed. I was not. And we can talk about this. A man. What is a man? A man is strong. Is even to a certain point emotionless, or even like emotionally apathetic. Personalities are different and temperaments are different, but yeah, that was the expectation. The expectation is you put your head down, you work, you don't complain, and then it also comes into competition, because a lot. I think for me, I played sports coming up. So I was in teams, baseball teams, things like that. You don't talk about weaknesses, right? Because you got somebody behind you who's trying to take your spot, or you got somebody on the other team talking trash, and you can't show weakness because the game is on the line. And then you want your teammates to believe in you to take that shot or to go up to bat. Mm-hmm. So that's me. That's me. I know that that's the way that I learned about it, but a lot of that, growing up. You're not forced to, but you learn, and you start to think about what is and what is not, and then you have to make decisions on who you want to be. Definitely. So a lot of it was ignorance and stupidity, because I've seen so many people, self-destruct just because they're not able to, or they don't feel comfortable to talk to someone. It's that simple. I've seen people make huge mistakes that have affected the rest of their life, because they just, they didn't want to, ask someone for advice, or they were afraid that they were going to be looked down upon. So I as you grow up, we learn these things. But what about you, man? Like,
when I answer Jesus' original question, like when I originally found out, like what it means to be like a man. I say
the unwritten rules.
Yeah, the unwritten rules.
Yeah, the rules that I never saw, but we need to follow it.
Exactly.
It's unique experience.
I think for me, I learned it through my mother and father. Mind you, I grew up in a single mother household. Mm-hmm. So like for my father, I learned how to be a man. The unwritten rules was more for the image. Mm-hmm. Like for my father, men don't wear tight clothes. That's kind of feminine. Mm-hmm. So your clothes must be kind of fitting or baggy, right? A man must always have a watch on his hand and a wallet in his pocket. Mm. Always. Mm-hmm. If you don't have those things, it's a problem. And, you know, I'm very
falling off
consequential.
from
Yeah.
behind, man. I'm behind.
And the belt it needs to match the shoes, right?
Everything, man, everything. Most of the belt on your waist, everything.
Yeah.
Nothing slacking, nothing feminine like. And then from my mom now, it was almost like I kind of learned like I want to say the everyday kind of structure. Like me and her will always have debates. I always loved that about my mom. And she always give her honest opinion. Like she believed that a man should pay the rent, right? Should pay the rent.
The full
that's
rent
a
by
must.
Yes,
himself.
the full rent by himself, while the woman takes care of the utilities.
Wow.
And a lot of people have that idea, especially coming from those ages and like you know the 90s, 80s and beyond. I mean above. And that kind of like showed me that a man should always take care of his structure, while the woman takes care of the household. That's what you basically tell me. And that's the way I interpreted it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
man, for sure.
she always believed in that. Well, I was like, whatever. It could be 50-50, my opinion. And then she will always say things like, we would be joking, because I always hated handiwork. Putting screws or hammering this, that is not my thing. So she will always kind of do some sly like, you know, you should be able to do that. As a man, you should be able to also help with that. And I think she was also indirectly telling me, you must also be able to maintain your structure. Go pay for your structure and maintain your structure. While I, as a woman, deal with the household things. And I always thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I agree, man. That's the same way it was Miles. Yeah.
For me, it was more like I think I learned the unwritten rules of masculinity, like when it was I think from my friends in school, actually, you know, just seeing, observing other kids when I was like, I guess I would say like elementary school kind of, and you know, everybody had their own social circles, and you know, there was a cool group, and then there were the outcasts. So for me, it was more like, you know, what are the cool group? You know, the popular kids, pretty much, frankly speaking. You know, what was cool to them? What, you know, how should you act as a man? Or, you know, back then it was like a kid, but you always tried to act like, you know, you were, I guess, you tried to act like you were more important than you were. So, you know, it was, I think that was probably like a big impact on how I viewed, you know, what guys and, you know, should do in general.